right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. If this is your first time joining us for an event, well, first of all, welcome. But Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants is all about bringing science, adventure, exploration, and conservation live into classrooms across North America and beyond. With the new school year in full swing, we are now broadcasting 30, 40, even 50 live events each month for classrooms to join into. So head over to exploringbytheseat.com, register for the newsletter, and check out all of the event listings we have coming up. Find out how you can join tuning in live or join into a camera spot. All right. Well, it is the time of the year, fall, where we do one of our favorite virtual field trips. We are heading out into the field in Idaho. We are joining the Lucky Peak Research Station run by the Boise State University's Intermountain Bird Observatory, and we're going to join Leah Rudge. She is crew lead at the Lucky Peak Research Station, so let's bring her in. Hey, Leah, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing really great, and we have a good day for you to join us. We've got one bird ready to be banded right now, and then they just caught 2 more birds, so we've got a lot to talk about.
Amazing. Well, I am going to let you take over. You can be our guide for the next, 15, 20 minutes or so, and then we'll rock some Q&A. We've got a great group of classrooms joining us from all over the place.
Awesome. Sounds great. So let me switch my camera around really quick. And then we'll get to watch these birds being banded. So we're in the Raptor blind right now, and at Lucky Peak, we have a 24-hour research station where we're banding songbirds in the morning, raptors in the daytime, and owls at night. So Evan just caught this, looks like a male sharp-shinned hawk, and he's going to weigh it really quickly, and then we're going to start processing some birds. So
it's 96 grams.
Uh-oh. So hopefully you can hear me because I can't can't get out of this.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter then. So I'll introduce our assistants here. This is Nick in the hat there, and he's our lead hawk trapper. And so he's the one that's running the lines and catching all of the birds today. Oops. And on the right there in the dark green shirt is Evan, and he's one of our Raptor technicians, and so he'll be the main one banding the birds today.
That's your move. Yeah, 14 for weight.
So we'll get started in just 1 second here. So we put these aluminum bands on the birds. So I'll try and bring it close enough that you can see the numbers. These are aluminum bands, and we have several sizes based on the size of the bird's leg and the weight of the bird. That tells us what size they get. And so they have a 9-digit number, sort of like a social security card number. And so we put these really light bands on the bird's legs so that we can identify them if we catch them again or if someone else catches them. Go ahead, Evan, if you're ready.
All right. So here we have, in this can is a sharp-shinned hawk. It's a female. And we're going to be putting a size 3 under ready. So they're on this wire string here. Gotta check the band number to make sure it's right. It's 189330982, which is correct. So now the banding pliers here, they're specially made so they have the hole where you can close this band while not damaging the bird's leg. So I put it just enough that it will fit over the bird's leg. These bands need to be right side up when you put them on, just in case someone were to take a picture of the bird and try to read the number.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. If any of you are ever out and about looking at birds and you have either maybe a really good pair of binoculars or a really nice camera, you could potentially recite a bird for us. And that just means that you can take down any information that you can on the band number that you can see on the bird. Sometimes we put colored bands on the birds as scientists. And so you could be basically being a scientist yourself and helping us understand more about bird movement and their ecology. So keep your eyes on the sky. You might see something cool.
So this is an adult female sharp-shinned hawk. I'm going to go ahead and put this band on her. It's always the first thing you want to do when you catch a bird. I'm going to crimp this a couple times to make sure it's well closed and won't get caught on any underbrush or anything like that.
So sharp-shinned hawk is a type of bird that we call an accipiter. And so they have this really long tail, and they're mainly hunting birds like other small songbirds in the forest. And so their feet are the most dangerous parts of them. So you'll see that Evan is holding the bird so that its feet are controlled. We're not too worried about getting hurt if the bird bites us, but we would get hurt if the bird got us with its feet. And the way we hold them is also safe for the birds. We don't want them to be scared that they're seeing a human for the first time this up close. So we want to make sure that the bird is safe and comfortable and it's not going to hurt itself or us.
You see this bird recently ate, has a large bulge here. It's probably a small bird. These are bird hunters. You can see that's so full its head is kind of pushed back.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Evan.
So now I'm going to measure the wing. This is a special ruler for doing that. I'm going to just carefully set it along here. So I'm getting 209 millimeters for the wing. Next, I'm going to measure the tail. Here I'm holding its legs between my fingers so they can't grab me. And these birds, they have 6 tail feathers or rectrices. So I want to measure from the center. So I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go right in between there. I do that when I make sure it's all the way up against basically the bird's tailbone, so you get an accurate measure on this. I'm getting a measurement of 162 millimeters there.
Right. So Nick just caught a bird. So let's see if we can peek outside and see him extracting it. So you can see Nick's just going to go out and carefully extract it. You can almost see that it's hanging in a pocket, sort of like it's in a hammock. And then to the left of Nick is another set of traps that we have. We have 2 there. Some nets that if a bird runs into it, the nets will fall on top of it, and those are called dogaza nets. And then we also have bow nets, and those are kind of nets that we have held open, and then we can pull a string when the bird is in the right place, and the net will close on top of them. So we've got a couple a couple of different types of nets in this setup here. And this is their 4th bird that they've caught in the last couple of minutes that I've been down here. So you guys are lucky. You picked a good day to join us here.
Very, very cool, Leah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the capture process? Because it's really cool, and I know that you use a special friend to help out with that.
Yeah, so let me sneak out of here and show you a little bit more. So here we've got several different types of nets, and we're using some lures just like you might use a worm when you're fishing. So I'm going to pull this dove out here, and you can see that bird just popping up and flapping. So we have them secured with these little leather, basically bulletproof vests, and be secured and not fly away. But they're made so that they're protecting all of the important parts of the bird so that they can stay safe. And they look in distress when we're flapping them. So we're kind of tricking the birds of prey that we're trying to capture into thinking that our birds are injured and they're easy prey. And so then we're able to get them to come in here and they get caught and we can study them. So,
So this bird should be ready to go.
Okay.
I'll take out a young one and show.
Okay. Yeah, this is an adult female sharp-shinned hawk.
And we're getting a good little flurry of birds. We got 4 birds in here right now. You guys might have seen me run out there. It's a good cardio. As Evan said, he has an adult female Sharpie, and this is actually the most common caught bird at our station. These are very aggressive birds, and they're doing very well population-wise. So I'm going to take out... So we have a female there, and with raptors, the females are actually... Their plumage is the same for most raptor species, but size a little male. And if you hold the female, she's about twice the size. So this little male weighs about 90 grams, and that female weighs... How much?
214.
214 grams. That's a good way in hand to see the difference. Sometimes flying, you can't sex them, but catching them, we can take morphometric measurements and determine sex. And then when you see them up close like this, she's a big mama, and he's just a little pipsqueak. So kind of cool. And we've been catching a lot of Sharpies this year, so we can assume they had a pretty good breeding here because we're probably over 150 now caught.
Orange eye.
Yeah.
So another thing while you're still holding those birds next to each other, Evan, do you want to move yours a little bit closer? If you're into birds, so a lot of birds have different plumage, or their feathers look different when they're younger versus when they're older. So you can see that the breast on each of these birds is different. Nick's young male Sharpie has up and down brown stripes, and Evan's female adult Sharpie has sort of horizontal orangish barring. Then you can also see on these birds' accipiters, their eye color changes as they age. So this young one has that very light yellowish gray eye, and then Evan's bird is starting to get really beautiful, like sunset orange, and someday it will turn red when it gets even older. All right, do you want me to release that bird and you can start processing another one?
Yeah.
So I'll take you guys outside with me here. And let's see if I can get this release on camera for you guys. So again, an adult female Sharpie. She just ate. You can see her full crop there where my finger is pointing. Goodbye. All right, here, there's the city of Boise. We're along this ridge line, and this ridge line is going kind of jutting out from the Rocky Mountains, and it's running north to south. And so these birds and heading south for migration, they're using this ridgeline to help them migrate faster. Raptors, they don't like to flap a lot if they can help it, so they're using the topography of these mountains to use wind that helps lift them up, and it lets them soar and glide and get really fast without having to put too much energy into their travels. So it looks like they both have young male Sharpies now.
And this is also the smallest accipiter. So as they mentioned before, these are a group of hawks called accipiters. They have short tails or long tails, short wings, and they're forest hunters. And this is the smallest hawk that we catch. And sometimes the males are a little noisy, just to let us know. This one's all good.
Okay.
Are you gonna release it, or do you want me just to?
I think you can release it.
All right.
So these birds that we're catching are taking these smaller bands here, but we could, if we get really, really lucky, so cross all your fingers, we could catch a golden eagle, and that takes this really big band. It's like bigger than my thumb, because those birds are way bigger than these little ones. So one of our stations actually caught a golden eagle earlier this year, I think about a month ago. We have some resident golden eagles that live around here, and so they're really terror birds. They're migrating them often, but we could.
178 for
178.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you, Joe.
We got it now.
Okay.
What do you say we start meeting some of the classrooms and working some questions?
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
All right, excellent. Well, Nick and Evan, awesome. It's really cool to see the two of you working. It's great to see this, live work in the field. So very cool. All right, let's start meeting some classrooms. So we're going to start off. Let's go. Miss Bennett's group is joining us in Brampton, Ontario. Let's bring them into the call here in Canada. There they are. All right, grade 4s. How you doing, Miss Bennett?
Well, thank you. I'm just going to, can you see my screen right now or no? No, I guess not.
No, right now I just see you.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Right.
All right. So, boys and girls, if you want to put your camera on, you can. So I'm just going to see if I've got some questions in the chat. One question I know that I can guess that a lot of the kids are having is, why are they banding these birds?
All right.
All right.
Well,
go ahead, Leah.
one of the birds really likes your question. So the reason why we're banding birds is at this station specifically, we are interested in studying migration. And so we can learn things like the timing of migration when it happens. We can learn things about how the population is doing based on how many birds of each species, sex, or age class that we're catching. And I can also show you of people. Those are our hawk watchers, and so their data is complementing our banding data so that we're getting the full picture of what's to hopefully figure out a way to conserve these species, or maybe just even notice that something is going wrong in the first place. We've been doing this since 1993, so that's almost as old as me and way older than any of you kids joining us. And so we have this long-term set of data that we can really learn a lot from and see changes that are happening over this really long period of time, getting close to 30 years, I hate to say.
All right. Great question to get us started. Let's visit another group now. Let's see. We've got some 6'7" joining us with Mr. Fraser. Let me bring him into the call here. There we go. All right, Mr. Fraser, how you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
I have students, they've got a few great questions. So Braxton and Javier were wondering, to combine their questions, how fast are the birds? And what is their best skill as far as how do they catch their prey?
Well, okay, so I might have to ask for help for the first part of that question, but while the boys are thinking and while they're processing the rest of these birds, so I can answer the second question about their skills at hunting. So we met some accipiters, and so those are birds that are flying through the forest and hunting more so with their feet and killing with their feet, and that's why their feet were the most dangerous part of them. There are other types of raptors called falcons, and they're normally really fast. So you've probably heard of a peregrine falcon, which is the fastest animal in the world. They are so fast and such good flyers that they really like to hunt on the wing. That's what it's called. So they're not even stopping flying to hunt. So because they're busy flapping and they want to hunt really fast, they will use their beak more to kill their prey. And other different types of raptors have sort of different hunting styles. And so when we're catching them in the blind here, Nick is thinking about what their hunting style is and deciding on how to try and catch them based on their hunting style. And for the second part of the question, boys, I don't know, do you know how fast any of these birds are able to travel? Do you happen to know the top speed of a peregrine, maybe?
You can touch on the peregrine. For accipiters, as Leah mentioned, they're not so much. They're fast, but they're not like a falcon. So these guys are more meant for being able to maneuver between trees and sticks, and they can just turn on a dime. Like their maneuverability is crazy. As for speed, that's hard to say because I'm not sure how fast. I mean, I'm sure they can get upwards probably to 30, 40 miles an hour if they're really flapping. But mostly they're hunting in the forest, and they're just built to be able to turn and catch songbirds as they make mistakes trying to get away. But still pretty fast, but not like some of the other species that use their speed to just hit things in the air. And Evan can talk to you about the peregrines and the falcons, kind of how they hunt.
That's 200 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, that's right. 200 miles an hour for a peregrine.
Yeah. The peregrine falcons can, when they're diving to hit for prey, usually they can top out around 200 miles an hour. And they just outfly their prey. They're just so fast, they can zoom up and catch it. They have longer, pointier wings and shorter tails. They're just more built for speed than like these accipiters we just had.
Yeah. Imagine even driving in your car at 200 miles per hour. That would be crazy.
All right, very cool. Well, we're going to go to, I believe, Kansas now. We've got Mrs. Weller's science class hanging out with us. So we'd love to grab a question. How we doing, boys and girls?
Good. We're great. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Hey, Addie, be quiet so they can hear. Okay, nice and loud. Ask me your question.
What's the most birds have you caught? What's the most birds have you caught?
Okay, so, well, an exciting thing that just happened yesterday is that we, sorry, I have to be quiet because there's a bird that's out there. We have beat the 26-year record for the amount of red-tailed hawks that we've caught. So pretty much everyone knows what a red-tailed hawk is, I think. They have red tails and really big, thick wings, and they're pretty widespread across the Americas. And so, Nick, how many red tails have we caught?
We have caught 60 now.
60. So 60 just in the past month and a half. We have caught a total of 439 birds as of yesterday. And like Nick was saying, some species we catch more often than others. So those sharp-shinned hawks that you were seeing, we have caught the most of them this year. And I'm sorry that I don't really know the number of that.
Or what's the most caught in a season?
All right. Well, that's pretty darn impressive, and congrats on breaking the red-tailed hawk record. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's go to Mrs. Little's group, grade 8s in Toronto, Ontario. I'll bring them into the call here. There they are. How we doing, Toronto?
Okay, Ben, you're gonna James behind you. Go up to the
I was gonna ask, have you ever caught the same bird twice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we have caught the same bird twice. Earlier this year, we caught I think it was a female sharp-shinned hawk that we had captured at another one of our stations, just north of, on the ridge of us. So this bird is still alive. We know that she's still doing well, and it's interesting to see that she's using the same migration route. Another cool thing, sometimes we catch other people's birds, and so this year, a couple weeks ago, we caught a red-tailed hawk that was originally banded in California, like sort of near San Francisco, in 2019. So we can learn from that. We're happy that the bird is still alive now, and we can also try to figure out why has it moved from California to here in Boise. So recapture data is one of the most important things that we can use to learn more about these birds. So when it happens, it's really exciting for us.
All right, very cool. Another great question. Okay, let's go to British Columbia this time. We've got some grade 4 5s hanging out with Mrs. McKenzie. Let's bring them into the call here.
You should see us.
Hello.
How are we doing, British Columbia? Looking good.
All right. I know we had a question about using the cups or the containers to keep the hawks in. We were wondering why you guys use those.
Yeah. So that's a question that we get a lot. So imagine if an alien had captured you and it wanted to study you because it wanted to help save you. You might be a little scared. So like a horse has blinders on it sometimes, we'll put a bird in a can like that. That's just the right size for them. It can help keep them calm so they're not scared or flapping around. And they can't see anything, so that makes them less afraid. We can also use them to weigh the bird, so a wild animal isn't just going to step up onto a scale for us. We need to kind of figure out a way to weigh it safely. So that is two of the reasons that we use those cans.
All right, very cool. Great question. Let's take another little classroom visit here. Let's go to Miss Marshall. She is 4th grade, Brampton, Ontario. Let's get her into the call. There we go. Hey, Miss Marshall.
Hi. Your landscape is beautiful, by the way. Just your view from the window that you have is spectacular. I have Ankita in my class is wondering what is the furthest a bird has traveled that you're aware of from tracking them?
Okay, so I have a couple ways I could answer that question. Generally, there's a species that lives in Idaho called a Swainson's hawk. So they're another large boodio, just like a red tail. So they have thicker wings and kind of a thick, chunky tail. They will travel from here all the way to Argentina on their migration. So that is like an unfathomable distance, pretty much, to me at least. I can't imagine walking that far. Some other cool captures that are really long distance and kind of weird that we've caught here. One time we caught a gyrfalcon, and so that bird is breeding up in the Arctic Circle and wintering in Canada or maybe in like the North Dakotas. And so that bird traveled a pretty far way to get to us, and we kind of don't know why, because they don't normally winter here. But I would say the big one for the raptors is that Swainson's hawk that goes all the way to Argentina. Pretty impressive.
That's incredibly impressive. I did a quick Google search. That's like 6,500 miles. That is a journey.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
All right. Very cool. Well, let's jump to another classroom here. Let's see who we, oh, there we go. I see who we need to visit. So we're going to go now to Mrs. Doherty. She is representing some second graders in Toronto, Ontario. Let's bring her into the call. There we go. How are we doing today?
Great, thanks. My question has to do with the location, being so close to Boise. Do a lot of these birds actually also end up in urban settings?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure that I know the answer to that for sure. I would say it's definitely possible, but one of the reasons that they're stopping here at Lucky Peak on their journey is that you can see all of this forest we have here, and then all the way behind us, it kind of birds like the accipiters that are using songbirds as their main food source. They want to be up here where there's a big concentration of songbirds, where they have lots of food to eat. And also even a bird like a red tail that or a harrier that might be using this sagebrush, they kind of would rather prefer to hunt in these wide open spaces than in the city where maybe there's not as good of a food source there or not as much room to hunt. So I'm sure, I mean, at your backyard bird feeder, you could certainly see an increase in birds during migration time. But I think generally they're kind of trying to stay away from us. But that is a good question, and I don't know if I'm 100% right on that one.
All right. Well, it definitely makes sense. I mean, they're going to go where there's a good food source. So if they can find food in the city, they'll be there. But it looks like those forests, too, are an excellent spot to find those kind of smaller songbirds that they like.
Yeah.
And so talking about the songbirds, we'll be connecting on the 30th at 10 a.m. Eastern, which I believe is 8 a.m. your time. And we're going to get to check out the songbird operation that you have for banding them. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yes, I think so. And hopefully everyone who's joining us now has a chance to join on Wednesday or on maybe one of our other songbird days. Today was super busy here in the blind and in the songbird nets. So hopefully we keep catching a lot of birds.
All right. Well, we've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to open it up to the classrooms. Give me a wave if we need to come back and visit your group or your class if you have another question teed up and ready for us, and then we'll visit as many as we can before we run out of time today. So, oh, there we go. Ms. Weller's class, let me bring you back in Kansas.
I have a question. All right.
You need to sit down, please. Gracie, come on.
All right, here comes someone.
Okay, nice and loud, Gracie.
they're asking for a question. So you had your hand raised. Jeremiah, no comment? That's okay. Stay right here. Come here, Jeremiah.
All right, bud, we're ready for you.
That's okay. Here we go. We got a question coming right here.
How sharp are some birds' legs?
How sharp are their talons, maybe? How sharp are the little claws on their feet?
Yeah.
Well, they're generally pretty sharp. You definitely don't want to. You definitely don't want them to try and grab you with them. Like I was saying earlier, it kind of depends on the type of bird, on how it hunts. So some birds that hunt on the wing, I might be a little bit more scared of their claws, and maybe if they're a bigger bird, I might be a little more worried about them grabbing me. But in general, we try and stay away from their feet because they are a predator implement, so pretty sharp. You want to stay away from them.
All right. So I saw a couple movements. Looked like someone ran from the hut. Looked like a couple close calls, maybe.
One got out, yeah.
Yeah, one got into the net and then it got out. So sometimes when we catch them, they don't get totally caught, and it just happens sometimes. They get lucky.
Fair enough. Miss Little's group looks like someone's waiting to ask a question. Let me bring you back in.
How many birds do you get on average, like every day?
Every day?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it definitely varies on the day, depending on the weather and the winds. Just you or I wouldn't want to go outside in bad weather. I would say an average day is probably around 10 to 15 birds for this year. We've had some higher years and some lower years, but we're doing pretty good, which is good because that means bird populations are doing good.
All right, excellent. Well, we can probably squeeze in one or two more, so give me a wave if I need to visit. Oh, there we go. Mr. Fraser, let me bring you back in.
I was wondering, what is the rope for that the guys are pulling along the back?
Yeah, so the rope is for, the rope is attached to these little harnesses that we put on the birds. And so when Nick pulls that rope, let's see if I can move over and see. You should be a pigeon tricking those raptors into thinking that that bird is injured and that it's easy prey so that they'll come into our station. So that is how we catch all of the raptors here.
Okay, yeah, so we could just barely see the pigeon. We could see it flying a little bit. So kind of moving those ropes a little bit gets it to flap a little bit more for those birds of prey as they're passing over. Very cool.
Great, thank you.
All right. Should we visit another classroom? Give me a wave. Oh, there we go. Lots of waving in Miss Mackenzie's group. Let me bring you in. All right. I'm not sure if someone's coming up. I don't hear anything from the class.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lincoln. Have you guys ever caught a golden eagle?
Yes, we have caught a golden eagle. One of our other trappers caught one just a few weeks ago, I think in early September. Nick, actually, and I should shout out that he's from Canada. Sorry. Every time someone from Canada comes on, he gets really excited. He was working in Michigan this year on another raptor trapping project, and he caught a golden eagle. So they are really big. Again, to remind you, this is the band size that they get. So their legs are thicker than my thumb, and they are probably as big as Nick's torso. They're that tall. So very big bird, and very excited when we get to catch one.
All right, very cool. It's hard to stop watching. I can see the pigeon flapping. I can see that they're working the rope. So yeah, it must be a great way to spend the afternoon. Looks like a beautiful afternoon. Oh, looks like we'll get one more before we log off for today. So that's pretty lucky.
Yeah.
And then we'll be doing this again on the 5th. So October 5th, we'll take another trip to Lucky Peak, and we'll see if we can catch some more raptors.
So I guess they caught 2 birds at the same time in that mist net. Nick's bird got out, but Evan on the left there, he's extracting a bird right now. So yeah, there'll be one more for us to see up close and personal.
Excellent. That's a perfect way to wrap up, I think. So let's take one more look. Very cool.
And it looks like another sharp-shinned hawk.
So sharp-shinned probably has more to do with their talons than their actual shins, I imagine. All right, well, just wait a moment because they're in a remote area. So we've had a really good connection so far. We'll see if... Oh, there we go.
Uh-oh, I'm back now.
You're back.
Yes. I heard you asking something about sharp-shinned, the name
Yeah.
sharp-shinned.
Is the name more kind of to do with their talons, or are their shins, do they have a little protrusion or something?
No, their shins aren't particularly sharp. Evan can show you their legs up close for a second. I guess I don't know the full story about their name. I know we think about a sharp edge when we try and figure out little shortcuts of how to identify them in flight. So sharp-shinned hawks have a more squared off tail in flight than a Cooper's hawk, which looks really similar to it. That has a more rounded tail shape. But it could totally be because they have very sharp talons. So let us show you its legs really quickly.
I'm about to get it out.
Okay. And so we can all imagine what a lizard or maybe even a dinosaur used to look like, with really scaly skin. And so birds are very distantly related to dinosaurs from millions of years ago. And so you can see why that's totally possible by looking at their scaly little legs. So they kind of look just like a lizard or something. And you can see kind of how big their talons are in comparison to my thumbnail.
And these shins are much narrower than, like, say, a Cooper's hawk, which is the other common accipiter that we have.
So Leah, there's a question that came in via the chat. I think it's a really good one, a good wrap-up question too. What are a few of the threats that migratory birds like the sharp-shinned hawk might face?
Yeah, so a couple of those threats, I would say probably the biggest is habitat loss. So we talked about, they would probably rather spend time here out in the forests or out in the big sagebrush fields hunting where there's a lot more prey available as opposed to a city. So as our cities grow, we're losing habitat for these birds and a lot of other animals. During migration, there are some natural threats, so maybe weather conditions or other predators. But human-caused ones also include cats. If your cats are outdoors, maybe not killing a Sharpie, but they can certainly kill and do kill tens of thousands of songbirds and small mammals that birds like the Sharpies and red tails and all of these other raptors end up catching and eating. So everything is connected, and we want to keep our cats indoors so we can keep our bird population safe too. There are a lot more, so I could keep going if you want, but if it's time to wrap up, I think that's a good synopsis too. You're on mute again.
All right. What a pleasure to join today, Leah. A huge shout out to Nick and Evan for working the lines and showing us some really cool banding and measurement activity. Great stuff. And Leah, thank you so much for great explanations and just being an awesome moderator today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us and having me. And thanks to everyone who was able to join us today. And I hope that you look up into the sky after school or work today and see a bird and maybe know a little bit more about it.
All right. Well, as mentioned, join us on the 30th, 10 a.m. Eastern. We are going to go live and hopefully see a little songbird banding action. So it should be a good time. And then we'll be back with the Raptors. I believe it's the 5th at the same time. Does that sound right, Leah?
Yep, it does.
All right. Excellent. Well, again, thanks, Nick and Evan. Leah, thank you so much. Thank you to all the classrooms who tuned in via YouTube and Facebook. Thank you to all the classrooms who joined us live on camera today in Canada and the US. It was a blast. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you in another event. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.